Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Pundits Fun It. You got it. The Motor City Manmouth is back in the house, and I got three great people alongside of me. Before I get into the intros, let's let everybody know that Pundits Fun is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundits Fun It can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. And believe me, we just gave you four, but there are a whole lot more than that. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? One way to do it is get in the chat room. Send topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and we will match you with the show that your topic is closest to. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. If you think I talk faster than an IndyCar, that's one way to say yes, and I'll get you on the show even quicker. Okay? We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth or X, whatever you want to call it. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes doing some marvelous work trying to get the website caught up. And she'll be taking my place quite a bit next week as I have to undergo a back procedure, but she'll be filling in next week, so we're making sure she gets ample time to take care of behind the scenes stuff. With that said, this is Pundits Pundit. My name is Scott. The crew is George Eichhorn. Welcome back, George. First of two. Fire up.
Good to be on tonight with you guys. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, Fire Up follows us with Ralph Williams and Jeremy Ballrick. So this is the first of our doubleheader. Denzel Snipes.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Hey, it's Denzel. Of course, if anybody knows that cartoon, that's way before a lot of people's time, but I'm not going any deeper than that. And last but not least, Jacob Christner.
All I can see is Crosshairs Inc. All I can say is it sounds like your next production company.
It very well may be. It could be a production company. It could be a record company. It could be a football team. Who knows?
And it could
the
be
Denzel Crosshairs.
It could be another domain name that I'll probably buy. I only got 40 of them anyways. What's another one, right?
What's another one?
I hope the wife isn't listening to this one. Otherwise,
Crosshairs is a hell of a name for a football team, though.
I'm sure. All right, well, with that said, this is Pundit, and what I'm going to do right now is turn it over to Denzel Snipes. He's going to roll this bad boy until he wants me to go back. I understand we have Pundit's points. You want me to start that one up, and then we'll go out there and go for it from there. Denz, how do you want to do this?
Yeah, we can go start. We can kick it up with Pundit points. That's the typical beginning we got. We'll kick it off with Pundit points.
All right, I'll start it off on this. That way I can smooth it over to you. All right. My Pundit's points are actually a pretty good one. I'm glad to bring this up. Tennessee Titans, DeAndre Hopkins returning to Clemson to complete a degree spot in a virtual class at team facility. Man, I am all for this. Here's a guy that, number one, had a really good career there, and he hasn't forgotten what education is like. Not like he needs any student loans to do it, but I am proud of DeAndre Hopkins, and I hope he gets that degree. It's all about bettering yourself with education. So more power to you, DeAndre. Not only do I hope you have a great year on the field, but it sounds like you got your head on straight and you're going to do it in the classroom. Go get him, DeAndre. I'm pulling for you. So who's next? George?
Okay, pundits. This one is going to be an easy one for me. It's not really it's a shout out to a good friend of ours. Scott and I both know, and we've known him for 50 years. He's celebrating his 50th anniversary as statistician for the Detroit Red Wings. I'm talking about the one and only Mr. Greg Innes. Greg has missed only like 8 games, I think, in the last 50 years from the Red Wings standpoint, and does a terrific job handling the statistics and the media and all the requests that come in through the Red Wings public relations department. So here's a guy that doesn't get enough credit. He's broken his back to help the Detroit Red Wings and help the media out there. So hats off to my man, Greg Innes, and 50 years with, he goes back to Olympia Stadium and then Joe Louis Arena and now Little Caesars Arena, the 3 past homes and current home of the Detroit Red Wings. So hats off again to my man, Greg Innes. 50 years, buddy.
Yeah, Olympia Stadium. What a great place to play.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I love them balls. I love Olympia Stadium.
Oh.
All right, Denzel.
All right, my Pundit point is, so everybody saw the Colorado State game last week. It was a thriller, quite possibly the game of the day. Sanders actually had a 98-yard game-tying drive that was awesome, capped off by a 45-yard touchdown pass to send the game to overtime. After the game, Sanders alluded to what was going through his mind. He said, I was in Brady mode. They left me too much time, just like they would Tom Brady. Now, some of you all know that he actually was trained by Tom Brady in the offseason. And so just recently on a podcast, Shedeur Sanders was on there with Dion and with Tom Brady. And Shedeur Sanders was saying that he wanted a Rolls Royce Cullinan, which is a car that's priced at $350,000. And so Deion Sanders had asked Tom Brady and said, do you think a college kid needs a $350,000 Rolls Royce?
Right.
You know what Tom Brady told him? He needs to get his tail in the film room. Less time in the showroom, more time in the film room. That is the best advice he could have told him, because that is what made Tom Brady a 7-time champion. Ray Lewis actually alluded to this on Undisputed a few years ago. So, whenever you're getting ready to play the Patriots and, you might take some time off and go to the bar, go to the club or something like that. While you're doing all that, Tom Brady's in that film room with that clicker, and he's trying to find a weakness. He's watching you. He's studying you. And as soon as he sees something, he's going to exploit it on Sunday, because that's what he does. It was great advice to the young man. And that's not even sitting here saying that he can't get the car, okay? Eventually. It's just spend less time. Because if you look at Tom Brady, the only time you really saw him really horsing around was in the offseason. On season, you didn't see any of that. If there's any commercial you saw him on, he filmed it in the offseason, But outside of that, Tom Brady being a workaholic, and he's training Shedeur Sanders to be the same thing, because he sees greatness in him. I thought it was awesome advice to pass down to him. Hey, get in the film room and be great like I know you can be. That's my point.
All right, before I turn over to Jacob, the chat room's getting busy, so we're going to get to it. So, Jacob, I know you're drooling.
Go right ahead. Go easy.
All right, Jeremy Bulrick. Hello, guys. Yeah, seen a little while. Jeremy, good stuff. Okay, kudos to D-Hop. Yeah, definitely kudos to him. And then, of course, Jeremy's at it again. Happy anniversary, Greg and the Red Wings. And now the one that we here's Monty. There you go. Denzel, you blew it. You missed it, but don't worry, Monty. Denzel's already agreed to come on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, so he knows that he's looking forward to joining you. He's already eaten crow because of what he missed last night, but he's more than happy to eat fillets if you get on. So love to see players get pulled back to get their educations. Cheers there, Monty. All right, let's continue the roll here. Love to see players go back for their education. DMTA, Monty, great minds think alike. All right, go ahead, Denzel.
I did want to touch on that just real quick before Jacob goes. Yeah. My freshman year at ACU, you all are familiar with, I know Jacob knows this guy. I've talked to him about him. Retired former Bears and Texans defensive back Daniel Manning, who actually played in the Super Bowl against Peyton Manning and the Colts. He's an ACU alum. He actually returned to the school. I actually met him back in 2012 through a mutual friend. And then when I came back across him in 2018, he recognized me. And so we just hung out like all that first semester. And he actually returned to the school after retirement to finish his degree. So it most definitely is great seeing retired athletes go back and finish their degree. And even current athletes too, because Steph Curry went back to Davidson and finished his degree, and he's an active player. So, it's always great seeing things like that. And I'm all for anybody getting their degree, no matter what it is you do.
There you go. Great. I'm glad you brought up that point. Let's continue the roll here with Monty. 50 years with the Red Wings. That's a lot of legendary players from Gordiehowe, Sergeifederod, and a lot of Cubs. Oh, yeah. You definitely know that, Monty. Okay, don't worry. We won't limit. Just because you're going on the baseball show doesn't mean you won't be able to comment on other sports. That's just where we really need you the most at this point. Back to Jeremy. Okay. When does Jimmy G get hurt? So we'll have the first player owner of the NFL. All right. Well, there's perception, reality. We'll continue that. All right. Jacob's been waiting patiently for his pundit's point. Go ahead. Before the chat room.
50 years with 8 misses. Soft. Yeah, I bet one of them was marriage. No. Nah. Congratulations.
It wasn't. He's single.
I know. Yeah, he got married at the place.
He got married to the hockey team.
Hey, Denzel, you remember when I talked about Mike T and him, and when I said 17 years, no losing seasons, and I said the minute he starts getting a losing season, he's gone. Remember when we talked about that?
Correct.
Well, guess what I see the very first game he lost, 0-1? Him on the hot seat. Quite a few of these places. guess what? This is the thing that people need to understand something. Number one, and I would dream to have Mike Tomlin. Dream. Even though he wouldn't come to the Bears because it is a mess. We're going to talk about that later. But watch that game the other night. Watch that game whatsoever. Watch all those games probably the last 3 or 4 years. No business winning. None. But they will their way to win every time. The vast majority of the Mike Tomlin win, I used to call him Dicka wins. Now I call him Tomlin the wins. It's that 3 to 4 points. It's that gutsy. It is that fumble for the touchdown. It is that grind. It's that sack, that last sack. That's what a Tomlin win is. It happens not because of, I mean, they have talent, mind you. Obviously, they have T.J. Watt.
Correct.
They've got something, but it's not because you listen to the interview from Pivot. They believe in him. They run through a wall for him. And this is what fans will never understand or media will never understand. When 100% of everybody in that locker room, and including the front office, and including everybody has his back. And he is able to go into it. His owner's office is down the hall. He can just walk in and say hi. When they have that option to do that, and everybody believes in him, that's why you get winning. That's why you do. This is what the Bears don't have. This is what a lot of these teams don't have. It is a camaraderie. It is everything. And every one of you get mad and saying stupid things like fire Tomlin just because you're irritated. You're not understanding. You have the understanding of those idiots that were fighting in the crowd between Miami and New England. You have the understanding of those people. It is a camaraderie. It is everything that he brings. And it's going to be a sad day when he's gone. So appreciate him. He's one of the greatest coaches we will ever see. And it's not a lot. I mean, Deion's another one of these right now that knows how to get into his players' heads. It's not easy to do. A lot of these coaches lose their players within a year or two. He's gone 17 years and never lost a player. And everybody wants to play for him. It's kind of like tickets from Green Bay. Everybody wants to play for the guy. So It is time. I was going to end right there. It is time to start appreciating them. We're not going to have him much longer.
All right, just want to make a programming note for Monday night. Okay, Fire Up Michigan returns around 9 o'clock Eastern time. One of the topics that we'll be talking about is one that was actually brought up by Monty, and that's about whether Sergeifederod should finally get his number retired. That's something that we'll be following. That'll be at 9 o'clock and 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have Inside the Pigskin, and then, of course, we'll dictate the programming based on my situation. Candy Ebling will be taking my place throughout much of next week, so we're looking forward to keeping things going and proceed from there. Great pundits points. Now I'm gonna turn over to Denzel Snipes to take it away, Denzel.
All right. So in order to get the festivities started, so the first one here is we were going to cover this last week, but we decided to wait until Scott and George got back so we can cover this one, and that is Mel Tucker. So the news came out about what he did, and then the initial reports were they were spinning him. Well, as of late, they have passed paperwork down that said that they are going to fire him. So he was accused of sexual harassment of Brenda Tracy, who was an activist and actually a sexual assault survivor. So school vice president, director of athletics, Alan Heller, announced Tucker's written notice of termination. It was a phone conversation. It was pretty lewd between Tucker and Tracy, and Tracy reported the incident to the school's Title IX office. So, Jacob, your thoughts on this one, and what's going on with Mel Tucker?
You've known me as a coach. I cannot stand him, especially how bad he was with the Bears as a DC. Just about as bad. And then again, now we've got Alan Williams, the same thing. He was terrible. We'll get that later. But as a human being, this is absolutely absurdly ridiculous. It's like because they did the reporting and then she called him 27 more times. She called him 27 more times. And it's like, and when I hear, I am sorry that someone was an actual sexual assault survivor because it is ugly. This is something that we still see. and we're going to see the rest of our lives, unfortunately. But when I hear activists, it makes me want to jump under my couch and change my name. When I hear that, just because it just makes it sound like she says what she's going to do. That's what they're going to do, is they're going to set you up. This feels like a lot of this feels like a setup. You know what I mean? A lot of it does. And it's like, and especially when she called 27 more times. He's going to fight this. There is no question. And he's probably going to get, after a lawsuit, he's probably going to get most of his money back. But see, all this thing with Michigan State, here's the deal. They were stupid for giving them that ridiculous contract in the first place. I mean, constantly. It is, I mean, it was ridiculous. It was 8 years, $98 million for one season. It was about one of his only good seasons he's ever had, really, between DC and coach. He gets it and he gets $98 million. Michigan State was looking for the way out. Looking for the way out. They got it. You know what I mean? That was a ridiculous thing. They got out, but they're probably going to get sued for most of it, at least. And it's like, and then here's the thing: if any of this is true, he's never going to coach again. So there's that money. But if it's not true, it's going to be a slow burn because of all of this. And what is she calling 27 times for? You know what I'm saying?
The whole Mike Irvin thing is like,
Yeah, and I'm like, what is she calling 27 times for? And then how much did she enjoy it? And then guess what? You want to know what the thing why he ended it? The whole thing was because she said the N-word in front of him. She said the N-word in front of him, and he was mad. And then she got mad that he stopped it. You know what I'm saying? And those were the big things. And it's like she gets angry, she gets and then you get Stephen A. Smith today, who is going on his podcast, and he was saying, "I'm 55 years old, never been married, and I'm happy." You see why? You're not dealing with this when you're single. They're not dealing with this when they're single. I want to be myself. I want to be married, but guess what? Just like Stephen A., we all want to be careful. We want to love somebody. We want them to be a teammate for us, not this. And we don't want to feel like this is going to happen. To the best of our ability, we don't know. But we don't want to feel like this. And it's like this kind of stuff is also a reason why marriages are going down. It's because women are just as much as the men.
Let me go to the chat room. I think it's imperative that we get these up there and try to keep the pace of the show. That's what we'll do. That's why I've allowed a later time frame for fire up. Okay, let's go back to the Mike Tomlin. Obviously, Jacob, you struck a chord here. Tomlin wills Jeremy Tomlin wills the Steelers to win his coaching. The losses are more due to the failure of the players to execute the game plan. Being hard to debate that. Monty goes ahead and says can't have dead weight on championship teams. Totally agree. Jeremy, okay, back to you. Mel Tucker, what a black guy the Spartans football program. That's definitely true. And that's why the topic is on here. Back to Monty. Tomlin never had a losing season. I've got to count for something a lot. And then Jeremy, kudos to MSU for getting ahead of the NCAA on this. All right, we're caught up. Okay, Jacob, I know you understand. We're trying to get to them. That's what it's all about. People commenting on what we talk about.
Understood. That's just the whole thing I'm saying. I'm not saying Mel Tucker would be perfect. There's going to be faults on everybody's side. You know what I'm saying? And some of the things, and there's going to be issues. But this is what I have to say is ask these questions. This is what the media doesn't want to have a narrative. The ones that have a narrative, they don't want to ask these questions. Why is she? That will get buried somewhere. Why is she calling 27 times? Like you said it yourself. I mean, here's another. You said it yourself on the one earlier. Here's another thing. Brian Banks.
All right.
It's like there's one of those. Where are these questions before it's over? Instead of 10 years later. Right. And that's the only thing I have to say with that. Not saying he has absolved the fault, but there's going to be things that he had probably done. But I mean, especially if she's been through actual sexual assault. But I mean, these kind of things are making men be more careful. They just are. I mean, they're hearing these stories all the time.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there's, you know, you look around on social media and it's getting so to where, like, even when you go to the gym and there's a woman that needs help, guys are afraid to step off and help her because you believe it or not, you have some women out there that want to go viral for trying to out someone as a creep when they really aren't. You know what I mean? It's that whole attention bug. I keep telling everybody. The thing in this world that has become just as strong of an addiction as drugs is attention. Social media proves it. You take a look around. This is more, the only thing is rehab doesn't come attached to it. In which I wouldn't be surprised if 10 years they legit came out with a rehab for social media addiction. You know what I mean? But yet, I mean, things like this and what Jacob was saying, because he's already guilty in the court of public opinion, you know? And no one has to be a trained detective to ask basic questions, you know, and find out these things beforehand. But I mean, but I digress. I want to pass it off to George and get your thoughts about this whole situation.
Well, I was blindsided like most people were here in the state of Michigan. You know, there's a lot of gaps here that are not filled in. There's time gaps that Michigan State has not answered to. Why it took so long after that initial study. Well, we didn't know about it till the USA Today came out with that story. Really? I don't buy that for 1 second. You know, this could have been resolved, or he could have been dismissed rather before the season even started. But there's some gaps here, and I agree with you, Jacob. He is going to get some money. He is going to challenge us a long ways. I'm not saying he's going to win total all that money, but he is going to challenge this because of the way it's been handled and some of the things that we're hearing that possibly the lady was responsible for as well. So this being said, it is a black mark for MSU. No kidding. I mean, we had the whole Larry Nassar thing, and that was horrible what happened there at Michigan State University. I thought they were going to try to show some improvement and not to fault all the administration, but, you know, they've gone through athletic directors, they've gone through university presidents, and now they've gone through football coaches. I mean, where is this going to stop? And it's a sad day at East Lansing because he did have a good thing going, okay? And he took him to the NCAA semifinals. But the thing is that those alumni came up. You know, alumni kicked in all that big money for that salary for him, which I thought was ridiculous too. Like you said, Jacob, just way over the top for what he had shown, which wasn't much in his career. That being said, he cannot do these type of things. You are the leader of men, young men. Mm-hmm. You're going into the homes of your recruits and talking to parents and talking to guardians. And anything like this hovers over you, you don't have a chance. You can't keep that job anymore. I'm sorry. Now, even if he is vindicated in some way, sort of, well, there's no way Michigan State wants him, and I don't think he is going to get another job after this. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, you got to be squeaky clean, especially if you're doing any recruiting like that, which all the coaches have to do. But there's no way that Mel's going to keep that job. I didn't think so. They came down fast and hard, but I think they had to. But there's still a lot of unanswered questions I'm going to wait to hear from.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think what George is alluding to is, at least the main point I took from that is, it's, you know, whether you're innocent, you're not, it's putting yourself in that position. You can take an athlete, right? An NFL athlete, there could be a shooting that happened at a nightclub at like 4 a.m, okay? And he could have nothing to do with it. He could be totally, you know, innocent. He might have known the shooter, you know, but it's like, well, I say hi to him in passing, but I really don't associate with him like that. But because he knew the guy, his name is going to get brought up and somewhat dragged. Now he's totally innocent. But you know what any coach and front office personnel would say, the hell you doing at a nightclub at 4 o'clock in the morning? And we got a game in 2 days. Right. You know, so it's about putting yourself in that position. You got to be more careful. I do agree with that 100%. Want to last round this out with Scott and get your thoughts about this whole thing.
Well, number one, George, are you delirious? Are you delirious? Number one, Tucker took him to the semifinals because of Mark D'Antonio's players. So turn that cap around. You can't embarrass me with that. We did it.
Turn the cap around.
Crazy.
Turn the cap around.
Crazy for the night. Okay. Number one. Number two, you can turn the hat the right way because first of all, when you talk about Mel Tucker, okay, Larry Nassar's name's written all over this thing. They don't want another embarrassing scandal, and that was as bad as it can get. I realize the coaching turnovers, this and that. I don't care. But he took them to the semifinals of Mark D'Antonio's players. And you know who's the associate head coach? Mark D'Antonio, right? Boy, I'll tell you, how are we El Stupido? I don't think we are. I know darn well. Now, here's another thing. They're looking to find a way to get out from underneath that albatross of a contract, and the show causeway is the easiest way to do it. So
Good
now,
point.
yeah, so you've got an albatross contract with a guy who probably will never see a college job. I'll never say he won't see a pro job. You never know. I mean, you can never say never in the pros, especially as we get to another topic later on in a little while that we'll segue to shortly, but not quite yet. So I think he could get a job in the coaching profession, but he's done in college. Okay, he really. And I'm trying to do a Denzel Snipe. College am I doing that pretty good? I think
College.
Yeah, that's it.
You got it.
Learn on my people. Got to mirror my people, right? So really, I mean, when you put the perspective, Larry Nassar, Mark D'Antonio, albatross contract. Now, here's the other thing Michigan State's going to have to deal with. Who's going to be their next coach? Okay. Now, we haven't even gotten to that, but I'll just throw one name out there that I think would be a great option, and we're going to see more and more of these names pop up. My short list would be Jim Leonard, the former Wisconsin Badgers coach, interim guy, and he, I believe, coached defense. He'd be my first call because he knows the Big Ten inside and out, having been in Wisconsin. So for a lot of you folks out there who would wonder, Jim Leonard would be the first call I personally would make. But hello, Larry Nassar, you and Mel Tucker are in the same sentence for all the wrong reasons. Good luck.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if in the event, he is innocent, and that's not saying that he can't make a Irvin-esque comeback, because he was proven innocent. Now he's on undisputed and such. But I mean, we're gonna have to definitely. This may be a topic we may have to revisit after more comes out. But
you probably revisit it in two ways.
It's deserving of a sequel, I think.
Well, here's the reason why you're going to revisit it, because now I want to know who the successor is going to be from them and what they have to do, and then of course we'll find out as more information. That's why I haven't used it as a lead topic on our shows yet, because I still want to wait and see how everything comes out. But I understand this is a trending topic that I'm glad we put on this show, because you still have enough information to make it a worthwhile subject. Sorry, yes. Jacob.
Of course.
No.
And you know what? And it's actually good that we did actually wait a week, because more of it came out, so we can have
exactly
more, like last week it probably would have been like a 5-minute topic, but now I mean we spent a whole 15 minutes on it. No, it was really great information. But
exactly.
I want to move on to our second topic here, and that is, I think some people saw this coming, the XFL USFL merger talks are underway. So this is via an article from Axios.com. It says here why it matters. Combining the two may be the smartest path forward, given the challenges in the history of fair for NFL alternatives. The merger would structure as a merger of equals and require regulatory approval. The leagues hope to combine before the 2024 seasons. So non-NFL pro players, they've mostly failed to catch on with fans and everything. What I could foresee is this merger happens and eventually the NFL buys it out. And once again, because the NFL is the only of the 4 major professional sports in America not to have a developmental league. The NHL has the AHL, the D League and the NBA League, or the G League. Baseball has, of course, AAA, the minors. Football is the only one. I mean, the last one was what? NFL Europe, and it went out in like 2009, 2010. They always should have had a developmental league. They can't say you don't have the money. You rake in how many $1 billion a year? So, but no, I think this actually is a good look. Because once again, the biggest thing that I love about both the XFL and the USFL is these players, the undrafted, life's not over for them. They still have a place to go. And think about this. They already have clauses in their contracts that say if an NFL team is looking at you, you can be released from your contract. You can go sign with them. So it's even easier. By making it a developmental league, all you got to do is just get called up. Just attach the team, the minor league team to the major affiliate. Like, for example, you got the Vegas Vipers of the XFL. Okay, attach them to the Las Vegas Raiders. Someone on the Vegas Vipers looking pretty sharp. Someone got injured on the Raiders. Call homeboy up to the main roster. Make him a Raider. It's easy money. But I want to slide this over to – actually, I'm going to start off with Scott on this one and get your thoughts about this. And how about Detroit get a team for the XFL and the USFL?
We have one for
they got the Michigan Panthers, by the way. So this is where Mel Tucker could land, okay? Depending on how many – this is why it was a good segue that you decided to go this route after the Tucker topic. this is where a guy like him can land. Okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, let's face the reality. He's entitled to coach. You can't take away his living. He's not going to be required to recruit. All he's going to be required to do is coach. So you have the Michigan Panthers. Now, I've been reading up more and more on this, and this is another topic that's been going on for a long time. Now, the question is what teams are going to actually wind up in that merger, what kind of stadium situations they're going to have. I hear in Detroit they still haven't signed up for 2024 yet for Ford Field, so they're working on that. And I know the Vegas situation, they're not going back to Cashman Field. So will the Vegas team move to a different location? So there's a lot of things that are really being looked upon. But let's just say this does happen, okay? And it does. Having covered the old United States Football League back in the early 80s, they had an 18-game season. This is what I see. There's no shortage of broadcast partners, right? You got ABC, ESPN, and the Disney companies, and then you have Fox and NBC and all that. So no shortage, and there's certainly there's room to put programming on during the springtime. You have all that in place. The question is how many teams are they going to be located at and stadium leases. But I do predict when it's all said and done, it would be great to see an 18-game schedule if for some reason it is moved to fill that February void all the way up until just before June. I saw the 18-game season there. And the one thing we can't lose sight of, though, Denzel, is the fact that the XFL was thinking about a conversation with the Canadian Football League, and we can't lose sight of the fact that the XFL lost $60 million its first year. I don't care how much money Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has. You think he's going to take another $60 million hit? No. Vince McMahon would have folded the tent within 3 or 4 games. I give The Rock credit. He's committed to it, and he's going to do what he's got to do. But he saw the writing on the wall. He sees the books where we're going to go. So this was talked about with the CFL. That didn't go well. You were hoping to promote it as a North American entity. Didn't work out. Then you have to worry about the field dimensions being far different in the Canadian League versus the XFL. But you don't have that scenario with the XFL / USFL. And of course, George and I could go back to the day where we had the WHA and NHL, where there was a merger that brought in 4 teams too. So
4 teams, yep, the WHL NHL merger, yep.
Right, and then don't forget the NBA when you had that merger with the ABA and other teams were absorbed. The only thing I wish would have happened there was Kentucky would have gotten a team, and Hubie Brown was actually coaching the Kentucky Colonels. That shows you the age that I have. So to remember this insane stuff. So, but
hey, I know you actually remember. I know you actually remember this, but you mentioned, Detroit, and even Buffalo's been thrown in the mix for a CFL team. I know you remember at one point in time, the Baltimore Stallions were a CFL team.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were the only American team that was CFL. And yes, the Michigan Panthers of the USFL. I was thinking XFL. Detroit doesn't have a team, but with this merger happening, I mean, Detroit's got a team. It's going to be set. But I want to pass it off to George Eichhorn and get your thoughts about the merger. You think it's really good for business?
Well, I think it is for all the right reasons. You want to condense and really focus in on one league. You want to have the best of the best, so to speak. You don't want them competing against each other. One of them starts in February. The other one waited till April to start its season, the USFL. The USFL played all their games, remember, the first year, guys, in Birmingham, Alabama. And then just last season, they went to 4 hub cities, including my own Detroit, Ford Field, as one of the hub cities. They will not announce their attendance figures, but the reports I've seen was, at least for the first game and the last game in Ford Field, they drew pretty well, up to 10,000 people. That being said, I mean, yeah, it seems to me like it's a good fit to bring these leagues together. The only thing that obviously the coaching staffs of the 2 teams have to watch for is obviously, make sure that they have the best conditioned players. You can't skimp on training facilities. The Michigan team, for example, had to go all the way to Ypsilanti, which is the home of Eastern Michigan University, and they had to practice there because the Lions would not allow them to practice at Allen Park and their beautiful facility. So you have a bit of a disconnect there with some of the teams, like Scott mentioned about the stadiums, but also you got to remember about the practice sessions too. And some of them have probably inferior that have to be improved, inferior facilities for that. The television, yeah. The only thing is, though, guys, don't forget you've got the beautiful and well-watched NBA and NHL playoffs, okay, that time of year. You know, you guys say there's not much going on. Bull, there is stuff going on. That's the big May into June is when we have all our great, exciting playoff games in football, in basketball and hockey. So don't forget, ABC and ESPN do a lot of that too. But there is room. I'm not saying there isn't. There is room for spring football. I agree with you, Scott. I just don't think this year it can expand that far to 18 games. I think that's going to take a little bit of while because they got to get on the calendars. They got to get stadium availability. You got these singers, these concerts, country western, booking these facilities for football stadiums at huge concerts. Not only them, but Taylor Swift as well. But the big musical acts love to get into these football stadiums. They put like 4 of them into the Ford Field in Detroit, and they put another 4 into Comerica Park right next door. So there's a lot of scheduling thing that has to be going on too. But yeah, Dens, I think it's good. I think it would be good to have a merger. I think it'll bring better talent to these teams, and you might have to combine a couple. I mean, they might not all survive every team in both leagues, but it's well worth doing, I think.
All right, let me add a couple things real quickly out of the chat room, which are very important. Number one, I can see where your point. We're told to 14 games the first year, and then ultimately leading 18. But Monty's back here. Remember the Hartford Whalers, WHA, NHL played in that arena? Yeah, I do remember because I was in that same name. It was called the Hartford Civic Center, and I was in there one time, and I saw the Ice Capades there, their 50th anniversary show. Well, that was a cool place to actually watch an event over at the Hartford Civic Center in that mall. It really was. So thanks for bringing that up, Monty. If you've ever been to the Hartford Civic Center, I've never seen a stadium in a mall, but that was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one thing with and George actually, I think that if this had like the NFL's name attached to it, it would bring more revenue and more attendance. And Jacob, you and I have had past conversations about St. Louis getting an NFL team back. Those talks have spun back up. And you want to know what one big factor is? The St. Louis Battlehawks. They had the highest attendance in the XFL last season.
I've known it. I was one bringing this up for about 3 years now since I've been with Sideline Sports. I wanted in St. Louis because I know the crowds. I hate Stan Kroenke for doing that. But let me say this about the league losing money. I could care absolutely less. And I'm just saying this, Bo, because if there is anyone that makes a dime of money starting a league, show it to me and find the miracle, because he could also kill our debt, the United States debt that's in the trillions. I love to be able to know that, because they got to get these deals with stadiums. They got to get uniforms. They got so much. They have to pay the players. They have so many things they have to be able to do. It's borrowed money for one thing. And part of that would be interest. The loss would be interest thereof. So many things that you got to get to that. So I could care less about that. But here's the thing about this merger. You've got a big combination. The Q rating of The Rock, who doesn't have a really – they said this last night on the show. Q rating of The Rock, who does not have they don't have the media presence. USFL and the combination with USFL's media presence, you have a better one. They got the better media presence. You have that combination. They have a media presence, but USFL needs a face like that around it.
Right.
It really doesn't. They have their names, they have their teams, but it's like the one thing the XFL has is they don't have a lot of names you can get Paxton Lynch. Woohoo! But I mean, you don't have that, but you can have him.
They don't have any like marquee names.
I know, but I'm saying the marquee name is Dwayne Johnson. I'm just saying to be able to show that there's the face.
Although, before you continue, and whether people agree with it or not, I did say if the XFL or the USFL, if one of the teams got Colin Kaepernick, viewership would go up.
It really would.
It would go up. Regardless of how.
I agree. It will.
Yeah, but Denzel, here's the thing. The question is, would any of those teams dare to take him on?
Right. That's the big question. I'm just saying,
but you know what?
Any of those teams did, viewership.
Denzel, you hit the biggest bullseye I've ever seen you hit in all the shows I've done, and we've done a lot of them.
Yeah.
He's waiting for that little ding with his smile.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
forget the
well,
bell.
all
Ring the
right.
bell.
I
Denzel.
don't go that far, but I just give it credit where it's due.
We don't have the
Bullseye.
production values yet, but no.
Although my head is close to a bullseye, so just take a look at the round part. You got a bullseye. in
Yeah,
the
right.
head.
But no, but you're right on that. That is correct. They don't have that. They don't have that name. That is the name. And USFL wants that face there because he would be that face to show it, even if he's just the. You know what I'm saying? But
Oh yeah.
think about this though. Well, go ahead, George.
No, I was just going to say though, but as a fan, as a ticket buyer, I'm not going there because of The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying he's drawing attention to them, but they need players that we can identify with too.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Oh no, I'm
That's
saying
true.
USFL doesn't even have that. What I meant is USFL doesn't even have that. That's why they probably want that around because they don't have anything. I mean, a lot of them are 34-year-old wannabe quarterback. No,
Oh, yeah.
Colin would he
yeah,
would bring it, both hates and loves.
Yeah.
He would bring the ratings. There's no darn question about it. But he has to. But here's the crazy thing. This is what the internet world goes. This is the truth. He has to do it now. I mean, he would have to win almost immediately, even though he's been out of football 7 years. He'd have to win immediately, or they're just going to say, oh, I told you so. And he was terrible when he was left. His final game was 1 for 5 for 4 yards, and gave Matt Barkley his only win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's the thing. He was terrible when he left, so he'd have to literally show that he's all ready, you know?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, absolutely. Do you know him? You know, if Kaepernick went to the USFL or the XFL, it would be like America watching the Dallas Cowboys. You know, there's one of two reasons why you watch them. You're either a diehard fan and you want to see them win,
Or you
hate them and you want to see them lose. With Colin Kaepernick, you either want to see him succeed because he would have overcame all of that stuff, or you want to see him fall flat on his face. It would be the same effect. But I guarantee you, if they sign Colin Kaepernick, their ratings will go through the roof.
You know what?
And if you get Antonio Brown,
Yeah,
he's
there
going
you
to
go.
try to be the human. If you get Antonio Brown, he's going to try to be the human version of NFL Blitz. He's going to light his hair on fire and try to
There you go.
run through somebody for the touchdown.
Yeah,
Although
you know what? Hey, let me tell you, Denz, if you're going to mention Colin Kaepernick, Jeremy B said, like I say, Antonio Brown. Yeah. There you go. I don't know what I would call it
true.
at that point, bring those two guys in. Maybe we'll just call it the social media league because I'm trying to figure out what that would be called, but no. And actually, because that might be what the social media football league. You never know. I mean, SMFL. Anybody want to trademark that? Write it down. You know, you heard it from me first.
I think
The
there's
social
one
media.
already. The Jacob, you ever heard of the Fan Control Football League?
Yeah,
it was the last league that
yeah,
Johnny
but you know-
Manziel was in.
You know,
And
all
another
kidding
thing.
But
And
I'm sorry, Jacob.
Sure.
All kidding aside, the name I've actually heard with the merger would be the National Spring Football League, is what I've heard. So,
Okay.
as a way to more or less coincide with the National Football League, but only in the spring. Sorry, Jacob. I just want to make sure I got that out there.
Well, they're trying everything to get the kids now. Now they're like in one of the games this year, they're literally going to have the game played by the Toy Story puppets on Nickelodeon. Like it's going to be which one's going to play Herbert? Because it's going to be San Diego, but it's literally going to play on a little field in a boy's room, with the thing, and they're going to do it with a little scoreboard at the top and everything. They're trying everything to get people's attention, especially kids. This is why Anthony Richardson's in the league right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know,
I agree.
you know, it's like it's sports, it's a game, but also at the same time, it's the storylines. It's the
Right.
theatrics when they score. You know what I mean? That's I keep telling everybody, whether you are for or against professional wrestling, America is turning more and more into it every day, every single day. You know, he did. And the thing about it is had this league had actually come out a few years back, he probably may have had a shot. He may be a little bit past right now, but it wouldn't hurt to, see him don a uniform one more time. But I want to move on real fast and bring up our next topic, and that is the Bears defensive coordinator, Alan Williams, and his resignation. And via an article on Newsweek, the team actually denied police involvement. There had been word going around that his house got raided, some sensitive material got confiscated, and he got arrested. He stepped down for health and family reasons. He said he appreciated the opportunity to work with the Chicago Bears. He values the NFL shield, and all that it stands for. And after taking some time to address my health, I plan to come back and coach again. He had been away since last week. Coach Matteberflus had referred to it as personal reasons. I know there's definitely going to be more that comes out about this one. But Jacob, this is your team, man. Kick it off and let us know what you think about this.
Oh, this is going to be a little bit of a long one here. I'm going to say this. I called this title "The Awful, Terrible, No Good, Very Bad Chicago Bears."
Oh boy,
this is awful. Now, this is the thing. All of the reasons why I have been so absolutely brutal on every part of social media and on here about the fans is I can go absolutely. I brought it, but I'm going to go into a constant dig. I'm going to dig into it a little bit. They had Kyle Orton in 2005. Mm-hmm. Okay, not perfect. He threw. Go ahead.
We talked about this. If Kyle Orton starts that Super Bowl,
they win.
Oh man,
they win because the reason they win is because Rex Grossman had 145 yards and a touchdown, but he had 2 interceptions. There wouldn't have been 2 interceptions or even 3 fumbles from Orton. He doesn't make those mistakes. But here's the thing: Orton comes in, throws some screens, doesn't make. He had 1 5-interception game like Game 3, and then never again like that. He once went. He had 2 different games of over 150 attempts without interceptions. He just did his job. What do the Bears fans do? They want prettier. So here comes it. They boo. They hiss. They do everything. They want Rex. They get Rex. Guess what? Blows the Super Bowl. Absolutely blows. He has a prettier arm, but he is wacky. He's ridiculous. He's stupid, and he blows the Super Bowl because of all those. Then they don't have wins after that. So guess what? Orton comes back in 2008. After all that. Ever lose, nice.
Ever lose?
Yeah, it definitely isn't ever ready. But no, and then they get Orton again. 9-7. Nice little time. There we go. They gripe and moan and piss and moan for another pretty arm. Guess what? You get Cutler. Yeah, there, which blows it with Arians. Because they wanted Arians, that people wanted Arians, and he wanted someone that would have been easier on him.
Right.
So it loses Arians. Oh yeah, before Arians, let's go before it. They whine and moan, piss and moan because Lovie Smith doesn't have a good enough offense. Gets fired at 10-6. Let's go even farther back. They whined and moaned about Thomas Jones couldn't take it to the house. Did it all over not social media, all over radio. He got traded. They wanted Cedric Benson. You know how that went.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going off and back and everything. So then they threw a fit when they finally didn't listen. They did Mitchell Trubisky. He was actually fine and won some games, even though it was just there. But it was just what it was. But it was fine. But they threw a fit. They booed him in the United Center. Did everything. Got their way. Get their superhero, Justin Fields. They get everything. Now it's 12 losses in a row. And now we get Alan Williams. And now all of this, everybody. Guess what? You know who's before Alan Williams? Sean Desai, who had the 3rd most sacks in one season in Bears history, besides 84 and 85. But they didn't want them. They wanted to go get Alan Williams. The Bears fans and the Bears front office steps on its own foot more than anything in the whole wide world. And this 12-game, near 13-game losing streak, and this whole thing with Alan Williams, and they had Mel Tucker too, every ounce, 36-43, by the way. And what I'm saying, every ounce of this with the Bears is the Bears fans have had it coming in, and the Bears, the old, dusty ashtray of a front office has had it. 100-year-old woman with an 80-year-old son running it. And they act like it. And they're still the only stadium in sports that still takes cash in some areas. Everybody else is just card and everything. Everything about them's old. You get one game right next to you when you go to a bar. It's Miami and LA. You get the next, it's the Bears. The Bears look like Fred Sanford's truck. And then they look like Fred Sanford's truck, and the Miami and the LA look like the Ferraris and the Maybachs.
Yeah.
And it's like Go
I
ahead.
wouldn't say that if you were going to a Marlins game. I don't know what you'd call it down there.
Yeah.
If you're looking to find a Ferrari down there, then boy, you got something in common with Ray Charles. You're
Oh,
blind.
I'm just talking about the type of
I'm kidding
offense
with
they
you.
run.
I'm kidding with you. But while
Yeah.
So let me just make sure this, okay? And you guys feel free to read what's in the chat too, because it's pretty interesting stuff. So I'll let Denzel go ahead and read this one. Go ahead.
Crazy that by yardage, the best quarterback the Bears have had is Jay Cutler with, and I think Jacob said it,
No,
36-43.
He deliberately misspelled it.
Tucker
Yeah.
with 3,643 yards in a season. And this is why I have always said when it comes to Jay Cutler, $1 million arm, 10-cent brain.
About 6 cents before tax.
It was actually 3,843 yards. You shorted him by a couple hundred yards. But
I know
that's
it's 36, but you're okay.
It doesn't matter. The reality of the situation is Mr. Ballreg has a tendency to go out there and try to be Chris Berman. He's looking to give people new nicknames out there. So that's why we have to be able to decipher what perception and the reality with the names. Somewhat kidding with you, but you get the drill. So go ahead, Jacob. We don't want to steal your thunder while you're hammering the.
I think he's done. I think he's done hammering.
No, I say real quick. Yeah, no kidding. But no, what needs to have understand is the Bears fans are going to have to stop looking for pretty when winning is not happening a lot. So love it when you have it, and see you might have more, but they keep wanting prettier because it's what the prettier is on the TV next to them. It is, like I said, the Miami-LA game, whatever. That's like those were pretty offenses, but they always want pretty. But pretty made it worse. You don't have the system or the infrastructure or anything on that thing to build it. Build the infrastructure first. But the idea of not knowing the infrastructure, you know what that is? That's poor people and poor fans who fight in the stands, and kill each other. They're poor. They're drunk. They're broke. They're everything. They don't understand infrastructure. They don't understand it in the real world. They don't understand it for themselves. They don't understand it in football. And that's where the Bears and the problem is the front office listens to them too much.
Yeah, and with things like this, it's like at what point does it stop? With the owner, it's like you gotta get better front office out there, and especially something like this. I mean, and I know there's gonna be more to come out in the coming days with Alan Williams and everything. But I want to swing over to George and get your thoughts about this whole situation.
Well, yeah, I don't want to jump to any conclusion like you alluded to, about him. But all the information will come out eventually. We'll see what it is. But obviously, Jacob has told us the story about the history of this inept franchise. Obviously, the front office is not what it should be. Their drafting ability is shaky at best. Their player acquisition, shaky at best. And, the fans have been long suffering, obviously, at Soldier Field and Chi-Town. It's really a shame because this is a proud franchise, along with Green Bay, Detroit, some of the original teams in the NFL 90 years ago or whatever, when this league came to pass. And it's just a shame. It's sad. It's very sad. I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for the NFL, too. And I feel bad for people looking for a little bit of fun and winning on Sundays in Chicago. It hasn't happened. It has not been there for a long, long time. And you're right, Jacob. You're right. I mean, they thought Jordan was going to be the savior. Here we go. You pin everything on him. And, he's talking about robotic coaching and crap like that on Sunday after the loss. He took that back a little bit, I guess, today in his media session. But, finger pointing is the worst for any sport, especially an NFL team. You start that finger pointing. And it's a shame because, like we said, Chicago is one of the top premier markets in the United States for everything, for music, for entertainment, for sports, for, a vibrant downtown, everything. That is not good that they've got such a bad team. And they've got some other companions there, too, called the Chicago White Sox, Chicago Blackhawks. There's a few teams.
Well, the Blackhawks have three in our.
I know they've won. Don't get me wrong, they've won. But I'm just saying, recent history, teams that have been down, but especially the Bears. The Bears.
Well, the Bears. Well, here's the thing with the Bears, and this is the thing, though. The thing with the Bears is you want to know the one big era, the 10 years, 12 years he was there, the one big era they had where they dominated? Ditka. And he basically just gave a middle finger to the front office, made his own decisions, kicked the McCaskies out of practice all the time. F off, not going to listen to you. No, I'm doing it my way. And that was their best drafting. That was, I mean, is Mike Ditka a great X's and O's coach? No. I mean, he was most boring offense ever, and it had to be McMahon and Walter Payton to make their own moves to have any good plays. But that's the point, though. It's like, who cares? He literally said I think Ditka knew from day one that this front office was ridiculous. He said F off, and he won 125 games. Mm-hmm. He won 125 games, 100 or something like that, 116 or something. And it's like, and he said that. He said, go away every single time. And they finally fired him when he finally had a losing season. Yeah. And but he says F off. He said all that stuff. This was I don't normally condone that, but this is a franchise that needed someone to do that.
Absolutely.
He went, and then, he goes to the Saints. He doesn't have success there. And, but I'm not going to hold that against him because at the time they were the Aints. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Not even Ditka could have turned that team around. They're horrible, But want to round it off with Scott and get your thoughts about this whole thing.
Number one, no comment on Williams until I get more information, period. I'm leaving it there. Number two, if you're a Michigan Wolverines fan, you don't care if Justin Fields gets killed, period. Nobody's getting any sympathy from him in Ann Arbor because of the results when he had the best of them. Number three, Mike Ditka. I'll back up Jacob for a moment, okay? Jim McMahon wanted Purdy. What after Doug Flutie? But all Jim McMahon did, by the way, won you a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Biggest mistake he ever made was William Refrigerator Perry got a touchdown, but Walter Payton didn't. Scary thought. Okay, hold on, Jacob.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say what I have to say because I'm going to give you 90% of this conversation, and I'll take about 2 or 3%.
You're right.
I have to be conscious of time here. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to say is, as far as the coaching situation, that the Lovie Smith to me was as idiotic as the Lions letting go Jim Caldwell. Period. That was bad. So there, I gave you 5 points in record time. If you want to go out there and elaborate on them, fine. There's no problem. I know we have one more topic to go after this, as well as fire up afterwards. Go ahead. You want to rebuttal?
Real quickly with that, it was I watched that Super Bowl over during COVID, and I only watched half of it. I only watched half of it when I was a kid. I had to go to bed because they were already well ahead. That's mom for you. But I watched it back. Walter Payton had another. They should have put that touchdown, the easy one. Walter Payton had another touchdown from Fuller, and Fuller threw it so badly that the greatest footwork in the history of the NFL fell over. He fell over on an easy catch, which would have been about a 45-yard touchdown because it's Walter. But he fell over. That was another. I'm not going to blame that on Walter. It was a terrible pass, but that was just his luck in that night. Well, but no, you're right.
Maybe so, but regardless of how you want to say it, he didn't get a touchdown in that game. All right, we know we have Jeremy Ballrick. We'll just call him the new nickname, okay, because that's all he deliberately likes to spell names wrong, although I can't hashtag him that way anyways, Jeremy. Just remember that is a professor to pupil comment, okay? Bowles invested $70 million defense to have the only team with a worse percentage than the Lions. Yeah, he definitely did that, okay? And let's continue the trend with this, okay, Soldier Field. All right, Jeremy. Pretend that you know how to spell a little bit.
They've owned it for 30 years. This isn't new.
Okay. And then the other one here, and then Jeremy will be on spell check the rest of the show.
Rucky.
Okay. Saints and Ditka mortgaged a whole draft to get Rucky Williams. It was a mistake. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, I don't think I would have gambled an entire draft there.
No,
but yeah, but dysfunctional here is probably the one thing you could say they're up front office. But let me tell you, say what you want about the Chargers. They've been dysfunctional for a lot of years. They couldn't even get Eli Manning to play for them. And we could talk about an entire topic about dysfunctional franchises. We will when the situation presents itself. There's no way that the Bears are perfect, but they did manage to get to a couple Super Bowls and happen to win one. There are a lot of franchises in NFL history that haven't even won one Super Bowl, and the Bears are not one of those. Period.
Right.
And that's where this one ends to the next subject, because I like this one, and we're going to make sure that we get this one. Hello, Ralph Williams. I know you're patiently waiting in the wings, but while you're doing, you can get a gist of the rest of the broadcast. All right, so go on to the last topic of the night, Denzel.
All right. Real quick.
That last topic of the night is.
I think he paused. I think he froze.
That's all right. I'll pick it up there until he gets back involved. The last one is the NHL in Atlanta. And you know what? I'll go ahead and take the lead on this one, Denzel, and then you can comment on it. So I'm going to go ahead and let George Eichhorn talk about the NHL in Atlanta. Should it go ahead and return there, George?
Oh, that's a tough one, Scott. They do have an ECHL team called the Atlanta Gladiators. I found out a decent turnout for the games down there. But one concern that I think there should be is, this would be, again, a new team. They support soccer very well down there. They've got the Falcons. They've obviously got a winning team with the Braves and a brand new stadium. The Hawks have always struggled, to get attendance, the Atlanta Hawks, but they're a little bit more popular. I don't know if the fan base is really there for another try. I will say this, though. They would probably play in the same arena as the Hawks do, right? State Farm, formerly Phillips Arena. But the thing that bothers me a little bit is Atlanta is only number 38 in U.S. population. And I think that ice hockey is still not a big draw down there. They failed twice already, as we know. But interesting enough, there are teams in the NHL that are lower than Atlanta in population. I'll give you a couple of them. I did my research. Raleigh, Miami, Minneapolis, Tampa, Anaheim, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Buffalo have less people than Atlanta. And they have all been, to most degree, successful franchises. I'm just trying to give you a little pro and con here. But the fact of the matter is that you do have a lot of transplanted people in Atlanta. Okay, I'll say that, like you do in Florida and you do in Southern California. What you do see is it could be a little bit of the Las Vegas effect. You might get the people that are moved down to Atlanta. My own daughter moved down there and her husband, and other people that are from the north that want hockey and love hockey. So there is a possibility of getting it, but my gosh, they failed twice already. I don't think I'm ready to give them another chance. I'm sorry. That's just my personal opinion.
You know what? I'll take the lead on the second one. I'll turn over to Jacob. You live in the area, and should Denzel make it back on, and
he won't make it back. He had power outage, so it's us to finish.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. All right, good to know. So that way I'll be able to take it home the rest of the way. I say that Atlanta does deserve a third chance, and I'll tell you why. For one reason only. Even though the Atlanta Thrashers didn't work out and the Atlanta Flames didn't, the difference in this one is they need to put that stadium in the suburbs like they did with the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves struggled downtown a couple times, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as well as Turner Field, and I say they deserve it, but it has to be in the suburbs. I haven't lost faith in Atlanta. The population base is there, in addition to the fact that Nashville's not that far away either. So there's a rivalry there. You've got one in Carolinas, and you have one in the South. So I'm all in favor of Atlanta getting a team, but must be in the suburbs. Okay, with that said, you got last word on the NHL in Atlanta, Jacob.
I've had my doubts just like George, but it's like my brother made a really good point one night. If it goes, it's going to Alpharetta. And I live in Alpharetta. And I mean, especially in my part of the area, if you want a spot, and I'm not kidding both of you, if you want a spot that has absolutely zero potholes, that is smooth as ice. I'm talking about the way it's run. It's smooth as butter. And the way the whole area is run, has all the businesses, perfect businesses, homes, everything. People are wonderful, and the cops are bored. Now, I mean, the cops are bored. When you see them, if they pull you over for any reason, it takes about a minute. You know what I'm saying? Unless there's something really wrong, it takes about a minute. They're bored. So it's like literally, it is such a safe area. That's where it's going. That's where it's going. That is where most of the money will be spent.
Yeah,
so give it another shot.
Yeah, I have friends in Alpharetta, and I've driven through that area. It is a really nice town, that's for sure.
Oh, my Lord. That's like never seen a part of the town in my life that wouldn't have any I'm just saying this, George. It doesn't have any potholes, no anything. No, it's as quiet as a mouse. It's like they'll spend money If they go over there, there's that chance they'll spend money. So there'd be that. But at the same time, they got to start winning immediately, or people are going to quit.
Exactly.
Because they do that in Atlanta.
Exactly.
Well, again, it's a good thought. Good suburbs, fine, but remember, if the Braves had to move to the suburbs, and now they're obviously doing as well, they couldn't. Braves for a while couldn't even sell out playoff games either. But let's face the reality. The Braves have won 9 zillion good division titles. They have a couple titles. Go ahead, George. Want to add to that?
Well, I just want to give one quote to my daughter Diana. She says, "Of all the people I have met in 13 years of living down here, I know about 4 people, not including me and my husband Adrian, who are hockey fans, and they are originally from other states with NHL teams." Again, that's just one person's opinion, but thank you, Diana, for contributing that. I asked her if she could give me her opinion so I could share it on this program.
Absolutely.
I'm glad she did. And like anything else, when you go to a southern climate, whether it's Arizona, South Florida, Tampa, Nashville, wherever, you're always going to get these southern transplants that are going to do it anyways that show up. California has a big base of them too. And for a lot of us in the Metro Detroit area, the Red Wings draw really well on the road.
I've seen it. Yeah, you've seen that on the road, Scott. I know you've. Yeah.
Well, there was a reason the Braves moved to the suburbs. Absolutely a reason. Right. Because Turner was a nice stadium, but miserable to walk at night. You had to get every pile around. And it was a terrible area downtown. Terrible. And it's like, you get this. And then they're not going to put the ice rink anywhere near downtown. It's going to go into the suburbs again. Any team that comes from Arizona is going to get to that. And the only thing keeping the Hawks from ever leaving by itself is the fact that it's popular there. But to the people that watch. But it's like, if it lost its base crowd, it's going to the burbs too, with a brand spanking new stadium.
Well, there you go. That's why
it's just true.
That's why I'm glad you brought this topic and we were able to address it tonight, because that's the only chance that Atlanta does have with NHL, bring it to the suburbs. All right. Just so you know, folks, you're watching Pundits Pundit. Pundits Pundit is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundits Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Go in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Also, send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X @Tribune South. Candy Ebling's behind the scenes. Also want to give a special shout out to Monty, who has been really great, and I know he's a welcome addition to our show. So Monty, the Full Monty Sports Show, you can always follow him on his YouTube channel, and he's going to be a regular on. And Jeremy Ballreich, well, what can I say? He's a team player in every sense of the word. We're glad to have him on our platform as well. And we always welcome anybody from the outside that contributes as well. Everybody's
and now Monty definitely seen tonight what our show is about, and that's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's good. Again, my goal here is, aside from what I'm trying to do behind the scenes as a producer and on-air individual, is to find the best talent that we can to blend with the platform and make sure that whoever's available that wants to come on all these shows are able to do so, and really feel good with some of the people we brought in, especially in the last week. So good stuff. So with that said, just so you know, Fire Up follows us, Pundits Pundit afterwards. Denzel Snipes, we love you. We always enjoy having you on. And even though you didn't make it to the end of this show, at least you certainly did a heck of a job getting us to this point, as you do on every show that you participate on, whether it's planned or at the last minute. It doesn't make a difference. Denzel's just another valuable piece of this growing puzzle of ours, which to me is all designed to entertain, inform, and educate. And that's what our objective is here. With that said, George, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
All right. I wrote a book called Detroit Sports Broadcasting on the Air. Scott's in the book with Muhammad Ali, Jimmy Connors. We got a lot of pictures, not just of sportscasters, but of athletes and heroes like Ted Williams and Hank Aaron's in the book, and Magic Johnson. And you'd be surprised, Gregory Kelser. There's a lot of great athletes in the book as well. So I write for the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner. At the end of my column, there's a link to purchase the book. You can link there. You can reach me on gicorn@yahoo.com. You can follow me here on many of our programs here, including the Sports Exchange and Pundit's Pundit and Inside the Pigskin and 108 Stitches. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn under my name, George Eichhorn.
Turn over to you, Jacob.
Well, I'm not going to bring up the shows. I do that enough. but I will say the writing that every place I've gone, as I said, I am
Denzel.
Sucker!
Hey, Jack, you know what? Hold on. We're gonna put
it's
Jacob
your smile that
in for-
electrified.
We're going to put you in for a timeout for a minute. All right, Denzel, I want you to get a piece of the Atlanta action. Okay, you know what the topic is, NHL Atlanta. Give you the Cliff Notes version. Would it work a third time?
Oh, man. You know what? They say third time's a charm. I'll just go really quick. My apologies. My power went out.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Came back up.
I had hope you get back on. Go ahead.
I was hoping you guys are still on. They announced the new
We're
franchise.
too long-winded not to be on. Go ahead.
They announced the new franchise on September the 12th. You know what? One thing that the two things that I noticed about the previous two incarnations is, to me, they gave up too soon. The Atlanta Flames were only there for 8 years. The Atlanta Thrashers were only there for 12 years? They gave up on them too soon. I think that's the biggest problem right there. You had the Flames, they go to Calgary, and now they're the Calgary Flames. Atlanta Thrashers are now the second incarnation of the Winnipeg Jets. Atlanta. Leave this team in Atlanta. Give it an honest chance. Okay? Give it an honest chance. I think that's the biggest problem, is they gave up on them too soon. Atlanta's a bustling area. You got the Hawks. You got the Falcons. You got the Braves. You know what I mean? You got to round it out. You got to have an NHL team back, but this time do it right. That's all I got.
That's good enough for me. Something's better than nothing. All right, Jacob. You can go back and let everybody know how they go hold you, and then generally you'll be able to do that as well. And I've already said everything. So
I am, as I said, one of the things is I'm part of Patreon. I'm working on my Twitch deal. I have Substack, and I've got Ricochet. I am part of South Florida Tribune and Inscriber Magazine. Also, got a couple movies coming, just like little short clips and everything to be able to show everybody my acting pretty soon. So I'm staying constantly moving on other things also, and plus all the shows at South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports.
Yeah, Professor and the Pupil. And also want to make another programming note that as the year goes on, we're going to bring on a second episode of Pundit's Pundit and also Pundit's Views, the individual show that Jacob will have on. And that's something that's going to be under the Pundit's Pundit window as well. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to make sure that we get a lot of these shows going on because there's so many trending topics. And if there's a reason to add another Pundit show based on a one topic scenario, yours truly is willing to do it. I spare no time when it comes to great content, and I apologize for nothing. With that said, Denzel, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. I know you're all over the place too.
Twitter, NELLINEL13, 13. Let's see here. Pundit's Pundit, of course, Thursdays, Wednesday. Also Wednesdays on Philly Jim's channel, J&J Sports Picks. New name coming soon because now it's going to be like the four of us. Also got the Gauntlet Fridays and Top Rope Talk on Mondays with the guy to my right. I am the sniper. He's the pundit. All pro wrestling all the time. Check us out. Sideline Sports Network.
Not only that, Denzel Snipes come on the Sports Exchange every once in a while, which is good when I need him. And now he owes me a shot on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk to deal with the Mate. All right. With that said, following Pundit's Pundit, we have Fire Up with myself, Jeremy Ballrick, George Eichhorn, and Ralph Williams. So with that said, on behalf of George, Denzel, Jacob, my name is Scott, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Pundit's Pundit. We will be doing the show next week, although Candy Ebling will likely be hosting it along with, she'll be taking my place next week. So it's going to be a great show lined up. I'm excited to see what topics come across the board. But meanwhile, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Fire Up is next.